Aloha, Daniel Molina here and Lucy, and we're here with a podcast with Anela. She is an amazing person. I have just only seen her on social media, so this is the first time I'm actually meeting her in person. So we're gonna get to know her together, and it's gonna be an
Yes.
amazing podcast. And I can't wait. And the stuff that I see on social media has been great. I'm like, yeah, I'm hitting love and like buttons and commenting, like, yeah, I can get behind that. And so you probably heard of her, maybe not, I don't know, but let's get together and see what happens today. So, Anela, how are you today?
Great. And you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, yeah, so tell me, like, okay, so a little bit about your background. Obviously, you're born and raised here in Hawaii. Like, where
Yes.
were you? Tell me a little story, like where you started, where you are, like where you went to school, high school, and then kind of where you are today.
Okay. So, high school, I went to Sacred Hearts. And then after I was working for a long time, and I felt like a failure to everybody because everyone looked at me to go to college, but I didn't want that. I don't know
Mm.
why, but it just wasn't my vibe. So, I joined the military and I served for 6 years.
Thank
And
you for
then,
your
oh,
service.
thank you.
Yes. What
And
branch?
the Navy.
Navy.
And then I got out and went to nursing school because I had to use my GI Bill. And then I was going through a separation and a divorce
Mm.
at the same time, newly single parent, nursing school. And then at one point I came home and their dad had an emergency hearing without me knowing. So I shouldn't have left, but we already left at that point. And then got custody taken away from my children,
Mm.
got custody back. And that time since we moved back in 2019, I've been doing photography, networking, and then doing content for brands.
Oh, wow. So, where were you born?
Oh, wow, at Castle Hospital.
Castle Hospital down the street.
Yeah.
Right on. So what side do you claim, like this is my side?
East Side.
East side. So wow, so Navy.
Hmm.
And so now you have two children.
Yes.
On what ages? And
10, almost 11 and 12.
11 and 12. And so tell me about, do they go to school, public school? What do they
So
go?
I homeschool them. And that's going well. It has its challenges, but for the most part, I love the freedom. Like we get to learn in a way that's best for them and also best for me.
What brought you to homeschool versus being a single mom? You would think send them to public school. It's free. I don't have to deal with it. Like, what made you transition to that? And then what age did they start going up to
So it
homeschool?
happened around COVID time
Oh, wow.
when we had to learn from home. So we just got back a week before school would have started, and then around their spring break. And then the school said, hey, learn from home. So as we were doing that for a while, I was like, well, this is kind of fun because I would draw words on the ground in chalk and be like, jump on this word. So it was really different. And I was like, well, we could do it. I sent them back to school, but it was just eating away at me like, homeschool, homeschool. But I had the same questions that a lot of parents have, which is what about prom? What about graduation? What about socialization? And how can I teach them? Like, I'm not a teacher, but I found out quickly that I really am. And I feel like I'm the best teacher for them because I love them so much. So I'm only going to do what's best for them.
Right. I think that that's a huge misconception. I'm not a teacher. I don't have a degree in teaching. I'm not capable. I hear that a lot from a lot of moms in particular. As many people listening to the podcast know that we do homeschool our kids as well. And we've homeschooled them since the get-go. So they don't know any different.
I love that.
They don't have anything to compare it to. They think they do. They think they know what public school's like or private school, but they have no clue. But yeah, that's a huge misconception of, well, I can't, I'm not capable. Oh, they would drive me crazy. Like I couldn't do it. And sure, there's challenges, right? There's things to overcome. There's roadblocks, but if you're truly determined and you really want to do it and you truly feel like this is what you're supposed to do, those things work themselves out. You find ways around the roadblocks and you push through, right?
That's so true.
So, and you said that happened around the time of COVID.
Yes.
So what are your girls' impression of now they've been homeschooling for a few years versus what they knew of being in a traditional school setting? What's the feedback?
I get both. They love it when I'll be like, hey, let's swim in the pool first before we start learning. But then they don't love it when they see other neighborhood kids with boyfriends or going out and hanging with friends, which they could do, but I just feel like they're still too young to do that without me. And I don't have the time to take them with their friends to go do something fun.
Right.
But as far as education, I think they just aren't aware of adulthood yet for them to really make a good decision. So I try to explain to them, like, hey, this is why your curriculum is like this as opposed to what schools are learning. Because as a student in school, I have never used this. So I don't want you to learn useless information because there's a lot that you don't learn in schools that you really should.
Right. Yeah,
How,
absolutely.
how do you do it? Like, how are you homeschooling? And I mean, I don't want to get personal here, but like, how you get homeschool and yet you have to work to provide? Like, how is that?
Honestly, I mean, I will tell you, but sometimes I'm like, I have no idea.
Oh my God.
God.
Yeah, amen.
Just walking me through life. But so I'm a photographer and a content creator. So that pays my bills, and anything extra, I decided to use that time to make the content that I've been posting. Just to
So
spread
freelance
awareness.
jobs here and there, you know how much you need, and you try to go find the jobs. Wow, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bravo.
It is rough
I
though.
love it. I do want to, so I want to point something out because when I was looking through your social media, number one, I love your tagline, publicly figuring it out.
Yes.
And I think that like, I don't know, like that could be a little intimidating for people, especially women, just because in the society that we're in, I see so many. I personally am not on social media, but he's on social media, so I jump on to see the things that he's posting. You know,
You misspelled this. Fix it.
that's the main thing. I'm like, can you make me an editor on your Facebook so I
She
can
gets a
just
text message from a family member. What did you post this time?
I want to be on his Facebook just so I could correct all his grammar because that's me. That's my thing. I'm like, just give me permission, give me admin. He's like, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, but I'm personally not on social media, but I will see through his social media just so many women who want to be picture perfect, who want to make things look just so filtered or so like, you know what I mean? Like, it's this perfect image. And so just seeing that tagline, it sounds intimidating at first. Like, here's a woman who's confident. Here's a woman who's okay to just, I don't know if I got it right or not. And my camera angle was probably not in the best angle, but you know what? It's the content that matters, and you're publicly figuring it out. And I love that. I'm like, that is genius. And I feel like it gives confidence to other content creators, to other creatives, to women, to mothers. Like, just the list goes on and on. Just be like, she's just doing what she can. And she's doing what she loves. I was telling my husband, I was like, man, as I'm going through your all of your videos and everything, the main thing that stuck out to me is you're an educator.
Yes.
And you you really are passionate about educating people on whatever it may be. So it's not just homeschool. But you are passionate about teaching others how they can homeschool, and you're passionate about social issues, political issues, the people of Hawaii, like all different topics, but you're educating others. And I think that that's also what makes a really great homeschool parent is one who just loves to educate, because if you're excited about whatever it is that you're teaching, your kids catch on to that and then they get excited about the material too,
Yes.
So I felt like, man, I was excited to have you on the podcast. I'm like, I
Thank
can't wait to
you.
meet her, because I just feel like you're such a dynamic leader and educator. And I think it's
you.
amazing.
Yeah. Another thing too is you're also not only an educator, but you're a good storyteller.
Right.
Thank you. And I think that comes with the photography.
Yeah. Like, you tell a good story and the point, and that's hard to do. What people don't realize is how to take something that's 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever short form content, and tell a good story where it's still impactful. It has a message. It's not boring. People, swipe away. And so you do a good job with that too. And so, yeah, I second that with Lucy saying that you're a great educator. And that's
Thank
what I like
you.
about your stuff. 'Cause you let me know what's going on in Hawaii news, whether it's political stuff, or just informational stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I feel like you're passionate about so many things, but what would be some of the top issues or areas that you're super passionate about?
Like, what would be like three top pillars? Like, these are the hills I'm going to die on.
Ooh, education, our food supply, and emotional intelligence. Like all the pesticides that are on our foods, education, like homeschooling. But also, I know that regular schools are important, but I think adjusting it to more modern ways would be great. And then emotional intelligence, because I see so many adults that don't know how to regulate their emotions or control it and turn to unhealthy means like drinking, drugs, abuse, or anything.
Right. Yeah. What would be if you could say anything to and I love the topic of homeschool just because I am a homeschool mom and I feel like I don't get
Me
to talk
too.
about this a whole lot. So I'm going back to homeschooling. But what would be something that you would tell moms, single moms,
Ooh.
who may feel like they want to homeschool, but they're a single mom?
I would first say to change their mindset. Because I feel like there's something in their mind that holds them back from achieving that tells them they can't do it. And I think that's mainly from past relationships or even how they grew up, like how they were raised. But that's the hardest part is to change that mindset of I can do it. I am capable. I am enough. I am strong. So I would start there, but I would also tell them like to take little steps, make smaller attainable goals and hit it and feel accomplished and just go from there. Like you don't have to homeschool, take your kids out right now, but you can educate at nighttime when they come home, maybe on the weekends, like a smaller scale, and then grow to that.
Awesome. I love that.
Thanks.
And so a lot of times people say, well, I can't afford to homeschool, or I'm not an educator, or we really, I think at the end of the day, it's affordability. Like especially living in Hawaii where I mean, it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so, maybe someone says, well, I don't have the talent and gifting to be a freelancer. How would they, if they wanted to be a homeschool mom, what would be a way for them to get over the hurdle of the financial hurdle? What would you think, if you would say,
Well, still the mindset, because if they're like, I can't, I would be like, change it to I can. Like tell yourself, I can do it, or I can attain this goal. But I would tell them, again, just small steps. Is there a job that you can get where you work remotely? Is there something that you're passionate about that you didn't really discover about yourself yet that you could turn into a business? Could you maybe move in with somebody and maybe share rent or a mortgage so that you can, you know,
No, that's good. I love that. I love what you said. You said, is there something that you don't know that's already in you that you can monetize and make
yes,
money that you don't even know, right?
yes,
And maybe in the beginning it's going to be tough where you're working a little bit more hours, but to learn to eventually get that freedom to be able to homeschool. I
yes,
think too, like with the public school, the way public school is right now, you said something earlier. Is you said, a lot of stuff that you learn in public school doesn't seem to apply with real life, everyday
Yeah.
life.
yes,
And there's not all schools, but
yeah,
certain schools. I would say definitely here, especially where our teachers are underpaid, understaffed. Um, Programs are not there. Certain schools, right? You almost have to go to private schools to get the kind of education that you desire or want. But people can't afford that, right? I
yeah.
had James Sunday here. He's a principal of Radford High School.
Oh, nice.
He was a good friend of my brother's, and they graduate the same year. And he was sharing some of the challenges he has too, with students, and just as far as like he has a really good school. Like I was very impressed with the stuff they're doing. But at the end of the day, like if there's no budget for certain things, you just can't do the certain things you want to do, right? And so I think like so speaking to that, like what are some things that you see in public school that you're like, man, I don't want my kids to do that because then they graduate whatever. Like speaking to that a little bit more.
As far as like a specific subject or
Just like you're saying, you know what, you graduate from high school and then you go into the world and you're saying that there's not things that they're ready for the world. And so you wanted to take them home and teach them stuff that are more pertaining to the world so that they can apply themselves to the world and add value and actually be able to afford a job, having a good job, get educated the right way. Like speaking to like, why did you make that decision and why was that important to you?
so my biggest thing with my daughters is trying to educate them on how to know themselves and love themselves. Because if you don't truly love yourself, any relationship that you're in, you may make certain choices that don't align with who you really are. And if you don't love yourself, you won't take certain risks or you won't say, hey, no, I deserve more pay for this job. You know, so I try to educate them on that, but also finances. Like finances aren't taught in school. I was horrible. I probably still am horrible at it, but I wanted them not to be afraid to speak about money, not to be afraid to speak of their worth. Like, don't be afraid of money. And then I don't limit them to say like, oh, no offense to anybody that says this, but oh, only the white people can afford a home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like anybody can. It's a free country, and if you work hard and you put your mind to it, and you do everything that's pono or aligned with positivity, then I don't think you can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So finances, what else? I just don't like how the schools are structured because when I was in school, there was a smart math class, a medium math class, and then maybe a basic math class. And I was in the middle. And I didn't like that because I felt I belonged in the smart math class. So I did the whole book. I turned in my work to my teacher, and she was like, okay, you can sit over here and work. And I was like, no, I don't want to sit over here and work. I want to be in the smart math class because to me, being smart meant I was in that class. And if I wasn't in that class, I felt not good enough, less than. And even grades, stressing out about, oh, I need to get good grades on this test. So I would only ask the teacher, is this on the test? And if it's not on the test, I don't care about it.
Yeah.
So mainly those values, but a lot of education like Latin and Greek root words, medical terminology. And I kind of used the things that I learned from Sacred Hearts as well, and also nursing school to kind of mold our curriculum.
So that makes sense. So it's like, like there's these mental, unspoken mental exercises or things that people have or kids have or students have that would be a hurdle to them because if they were in pre-algebra when everyone else was in like first algebra or geometry or whatever, it's almost like this like already this lower class mentality, even though it's not in money, but it's in value or you're not smart. So then, well, I'm not that smart. So then I probably need to just go for this kind of job, right? That actually wears on them, right? And so what you're saying is some of that could take a play on your children be able to like, no, go after everything. Like, sure, you're in the process. You may learn at this level, but it's not a hierarchy. It's just that you're a slow processor or you haven't got it yet. But once you get that revelation, you're going to capture it and then boom, then you explode. I mean, that's what happened to me. It took me into my 12th grade year to finally understand what the heck I was reading. Like I read it like 5 times. I still don't articulate or even, figure it out, right? And then I'm now own multiple businesses, and to the world I am, we're considered successful, but it wasn't because, it sure as heck it wasn't because of my education in my grade school, because they just put me in special ed. They didn't know what to do with me, so they put me in special ed, and I was I was in the class with the rejects, the kids that got in trouble, and then also the kids that actually needed special ed and all that, right? And so I understand what you're saying. Where if I was probably homeschool, I think the lessons that I learned as an adult would have been learned probably quicker.
Yes.
But I had to figure out life in college and all that stuff, and which is fine because it made me who I am, and I'm proud of my parents and how they raised me and who I am today. But I see what you're saying. It's like if I can get them ahead of life just a little quicker than if I just send them to public school, then I'm going to do it. And I think that's what you saw.
Yes. I see so many kids graduating from high school that don't know who they are, which I don't typically expect them to. You know, they're still learning and growing, but I wanted my
But
daughters.
hold on, I think that we should expect them to. Think
Oh,
about
okay,
this.
yeah.
In society, in our society today, they're 18, 19, not knowing who they want to be, where they want to go.
Right.
I'm just going to go to college and do my 4 years, and I'll figure it out along the way. I think
True.
that's
And spend a whole
and spend
bunch of
150,000 and I feel like
money. To do what? What
Yes.
are you doing?
I feel like you're being kind with saying that.
Okay,
Right?
yes, I was.
You're being kind. But really, no.
Oh, yeah.
Your 15-year-old should know what the heck they want to be, and you as a parent should know where you should be sending them. If you're not, then you're not involved in their life.
Yeah.
If you're not present, and only in our society now that we're waiting to 18, 19, 20 years old, they still don't know what they want. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds were probably getting married, right?
Yeah.
Being men and women, like building houses with their bare hands and learning all kinds of different things at the age of 15 and 16. And only our political or construct or whatever you want to call it, our education system is almost like dumbing our kids down, not directly, not attacking teachers, not attacking anybody on purpose to, well, you know, we don't want to invest into who they want to be too early because then they become too successful and they make too much money and then they buy up the houses that we want. And, you know, right. And so we don't want too many entrepreneurs out there. It's almost like it's done on purpose. I'm not saying it's conspiracy, but yes, you need to know who you want to be when you're 15. And if you're the mom and dad and you raise them and you still don't know that, then what have you been doing for the past 15 years?
Yep.
Like, were you in their life? You know? And so, like you said, it's a mindset.
It is.
So, no. So, I just want to say, like, don't
No,
be
yeah.
nice.
No, thank
Just
you.
Be raw.
You're right. I need that reminder.
Yeah. Be raw. You know, it's going to offend people, and it's fine. Well, I don't mean to offend people.
Yeah.
But, man, the truth has to come out because what's happening is, and I was talking to Elijah, is like there's very smart Kanakas. Very smart.
Yeah.
You know, the first time Kanaka is just mean the native Hawaiian, right? Someone who's born, got it in their blood, not just live here, like a Kanaka. They're very smart, and they're in that system, and then they get priced out of paradise, and they live in Nevada or wherever they're at, right? And they just went through our system, not knowing that they have gold in them, and if at 14, 15, if they were like positioned and pointed in the right place, like what your children are, then they're going to become successful and they're going to be able to have these jobs that make money. And then they're going to be able to actually afford the money. I mean, the houses that they were seeing other people buy that weren't Kanaka, that weren't local, I mean, that weren't from this island, right? They'll be able to afford it. They'll be able to take the jobs of head of states and governors and city council members and all that. If we change our system of just teaching them these basic things that matter not, right? And just let them know, no, by age 15, go towards what you feel like you're going to be when you grow up so that when you turn 18, 19, you graduate, you're actually employable at a high level because, wow, you've been studying this for so long. Yes. Like for me, I own my company. I care less about your education. I care less about, you know, what diploma you have. I care more about your experience.
Yes.
I want to know you got a paper and so you test well, so you memorize things well.
Yes.
But did you master the task? Right? Did you master what it is? Right? And so for me, I would say if you're a parent and listen to this, I'm not throwing stones at you, but get in front of your child's face and figure out what is it that they want to do. Yeah. And if they go somewhere and it's wrong, it's okay. They're still young. They'll figure it out. My story is I thought I was going this way and I went this way and then I went this way and I'm still successful, right? And there's plenty of other people who do that. And so we get this fear, you said mindset, this fear to not want to jump. Like you said, all right, let's do this homeschool. I never did it in my life, but we're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
and now you're successful. You're figuring it out. I'm not saying you're a multimillionaire, but man, I feel like you're going that direction because you're figuring it out. So why those people who are just fearful of like trying to figure it out or pointing in the wrong direction, like speak into that a little bit.
I would say everything you want is on the other side of fear. Like even being on this podcast, this is my first time being on one. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. Where's my hands gonna go? I saw they said make like you're holding a pea. So I'm kind of just publicly figuring it out. Like, and I kind of wanted to make content on that and make a video like, hey guys, I'm terrified. I had to talk to my mom today and be like, I need therapy advice. And she's like, why? I was like, well, I'm going to be on a podcast, which is great, but I'm used to being behind the camera. So being in front of it is terrifying, but I want to be a public speaker. I want to be an educator. I want to be an inspirational woman for other women, other young girls, and also setting somewhat of a standard for men. Like, hey, how do I say that? Choose a high value woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
so
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah.
But also
this is great.
be a high value man at the same time. So I tell my girls, like, you are who you surround yourself with, and your energy is very important, kind of like qi in Chinese culture. And you don't want to be around people who just bring you down or are negative and don't really help uplift you. But I also teach them, like, do what you want. They'll be like, is this nice? And I'm like, am I the one wearing it? You're the one wearing it. You need to be comfortable in it. Because what I think, what your sister thinks, what other people think about what you're wearing is irrelevant. Nobody else is wearing it but you. So you need to be comfortable in it. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to be a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
they will like you now and hate you later.
Yes.
And you're chasing that is the endless grave. The wind will toss you there and fro, and you'll never have any kind of anchor. I love that.
Yes.
I love that you're teaching them that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this is not to say, like, this isn't a conversation to demean anyone who has their kids in public school. Like,
Oh, no.
there
Yeah.
is definitely a place for that, for public school, private school, charter schools, and I know there's a lot of great ones out there. But it's more of a conversation for the people who are like, man, I feel like my child needs something else, but I don't really know how they're going to get it if they're in this school. Homeschool is that option, and yes, you can do it. You can do it. And it can be done. I talk to so many women that they have that fear, and they have that, like, God, I just don't know if I can do it. And I always tell them, I'm like, you just start one step at a time. You just got to go slow. You don't have to do all the subjects all at once, and just start out with a few and then just go from there and build from there.
Yeah.
Right.
How about the fear of not just teaching them, but like, man, I'm gonna raise my kid to be dumb because I'm not an educator. Like, talk to them a little bit about, like, how did you overcome that? Because trust me, laying in bed, babe, I don't think I'm doing a good job. Our kids are gonna grow up to be dumb, and they're not smart enough. And I listen to this kid over here and that kid, and they're not comparing to my kid, and they're like,
Yeah, no,
you
that's
know, like,
definitely.
speak into that, because you graduated one finally
Yes,
at
I
17,
did.
college
She
classes.
was 16, mind you.
Okay,
She was
16, college
16.
classes, like, right, going to a profession to be a midwife, right, which having to learn all this stuff, almost like a doctor.
Yeah.
So you did well. So, like, kind of speak into that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, homeschooling.
I mean, do you have those questions?
No, yeah.
Homeschooling's definitely not something that it's like, oh, like, I'm homeschooling and everything's great. I still remember when my kids were all really little. Like I said, I started homeschooling them from the get-go, so that's all that they've ever known. But I struggled, and I'm like, I don't think I'm doing this right. I remember the first time I opened a phonics curriculum for my 4-year-old. She was starting school because she was ready. She was just showing so much interest. And it's a kindergarten book. And I myself felt so incompetent. I'm like, I don't understand this book. I had to phone a friend. I'm like, can you help me read this, figure it out? I don't know what's going on here. And then I'm okay, I got it. I'm figuring it out. And so I definitely had a lot of struggle, but I would ask anytime that I met somebody who was a homeschooler, I'd be like, oh, so, like, how's it going for you? Like, what do you think about homeschooling? And always, every single time, oh, it's just amazing. It is so rewarding. It is the best thing. Like all these positive comments, right? And I'm sitting here like, it's either something's wrong with me, I'm doing this all wrong, or they are deceived. Like every single person I talk to, they are lying to me. And I never got to that point in their like early years. It was always a struggle, but I kept going because I felt like it was something I was truly called to do, and I wasn't going to give up on them. And I wasn't going to give up on myself either. So I was like, okay, this is what we're doing, and I'm just going to keep pushing through and pushing through. And I want to say it wasn't until about 7 years ago where I finally got over that hurdle of, oh my gosh, I'm like screwing them up and I don't think I'm doing this right, to where I saw fruit. It took a long time, but I saw fruit and I was like, okay, I see this is rewarding. I was like, this is what those moms were saying. I'm finally here in that place. And so, yes, it is challenging, but it is rewarding as well. And yes, I've graduated my first born child last year. Yeah. She had plenty of credits to graduate. She was 16. And I was like, you're free to go. So let's do it. And for the people who are thinking about, what about graduation? Just make a graduation.
Yep.
I bought her the cap and gown. I ordered it, tassel, had a whole graduation ceremony. We asked the church if we could borrow their sanctuary. We invited a bunch of people. I made her write a speech, and so she had to give a speech, and then we got up and spoke. There was photos afterwards and food and celebration, and she was the only one graduating, but she graduated. She had her own ceremony, and it was great. And just a couple years before that, we were actually in a community, like a homeschool community, and an amazing community. Love it so much. But I had to pull her out even of that, because where she wanted to go, there wasn't any education towards what she wanted to do. And she wanted to be a midwife. And that's something that she had wanted to do since she was really, really little. She actually was present for some of my births. I did home births. And so that's where she fell in love with it, like at the age of 7 or 8. So that was like that common thread throughout her life. And so I knew that was the direction that she wanted to go. And then when she was 14, she got to assist in her first birth. That was not mine. So she was assisting. And then from then on, it's just like, it was every year someone was asking her to come and be a part of their birth. And so I had to even pull her out of something that was really, really amazing, because it just wasn't meeting her needs. And I think that that's something that we forget as parents, is that we have to keep evaluating every year. What's going to meet my child's needs this year? What direction are they going? And is this environment helping them in that direction? And for her, it wasn't. So I pulled her out so she could have more time to do midwifery studies. And that's what all her sciences were. So I pulled her out so she could do midwifery studies and early childhood development and all of this stuff, and she's interning with the midwife, and she's at the births, and now she's graduated. She's about to start midwifery college.
Oh my goodness.
And she's only 17. And so it's like she's going towards her goals, So again, it's not to say homeschool's the only way. It's evaluate your child, where they're heading, and is their current situation fulfilling what it is that they're wanting to do? Is it pushing them in the right direction? Because if not, then reevaluate where they are.
Yeah, totally. Yes to everything you said. I second that.
That's awesome.
No, but definitely reevaluating where they're at. I constantly have to do that with my girls.
You said one thing to second this was you said that who knows better on how to raise and teach your kids than you.
Right.
And
Yes.
so yeah, you can bring them in homeschool, but if you're listening to this and you can't, still evaluate your child.
Yes.
Don't just trust the public school system to do their job, to teach them in the way they should go so they graduate and then they're now reaching the world. even if you have to send them to public school, investigate, hey, do you have any programs in the school that kind of teach more this angle? Or,
Yes.
like be more engaging with the curriculum that the school is teaching. And you don't know what the teacher might say. Oh, they like that stuff. Yeah, I could kind of twist the curriculum this year to have it more catered towards that kind of, maybe the book, instead of them reading this novel, we'll have them read this novel. That's gonna, we don't know. So just being, I think if you're hearing something from this little talk here, is just be more involved with your kids,
Yes.
learn what they're learning, and then try to help direct them and point them so that when they do graduate, whether they're homeschool, public school, private school, that they're better off. What I heard you say, better off for what? For society.
Yes.
Right? I'm hearing this. I don't know if it's true. You can fact check it, but I'm hearing people are graduating and they can't even read.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not just saying here in Hawaii. I'm saying across the nation.
Yeah.
People are graduating high school, and the test scores that are coming out, these colleges are saying they can't even read.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I had a conversation with a mom recently who said, now granted her child is in elementary school, but even then, like in elementary school, they're learning to read, right? But she says that the teachers, their policy, and this is here in Hawaii, the policy is that if the child doesn't want to do the work, that they don't have to.
Oh.
And so they just go to class, and if they don't want to do the reading or the work, it's okay. They don't have to.
Oh no.
And she's like, "Oh no, when my child comes home, I make them do the work." Like,
Yeah.
hello, you're in school.
I would look at that as, if they don't want to do it, maybe the way that you're explaining it or what you're having them do just isn't resonating with them, and maybe adjusting it will help.
Right.
That's like with reading, I didn't know how to teach that. I was like, buh. So I just put on a karaoke show, karaoke, like a song. And I was like, sing. The words are on the screen. And if you sing it enough times, I'm sure you'll get those words. And then I would just speak to them every day, and then reading stories at nighttime. So there's different ways you can teach. It doesn't have to be dry eyes, the boring,
Yeah.
read this from this smart board and work quietly.
Right.
who do you have right now in your community? Like, are you just figuring it out, or can you
I'm
phone a
figuring it
friend?
out.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, no, my friend Wesley, she's the one that started homeschooling, and I would watch her post, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, but what about this? And I would constantly ask her questions, and she guided me along the way. And then one day I was just like, I'm ready. What do I do? And she's like, oh, great. So submit this to the school. And then I got the recommendation back, and it said not recommended. And I was like, oh no, I can't homeschool. She's like, no, it's just their recommendation. It's not you can't homeschool.
Right.
And I was like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, what was the point of that? But sure. So
Yeah.
then I began, and I fell into that. Am I doing a good job? Are they? So my mom would quiz them until I realized that I stepped away from the school system for a reason. So not all kids crawl at the same time. They don't all walk at the same time. Why do we expect them? I mean, I get it, but why do we expect them to be at a certain level in their education when everyone's different?
Yeah.
Right.
And they all learn differently. But I like to use Erickson's stages of psychosocial development to kind of gauge where they are. And I also like doing it for other kids I know. I'm like, oh, okay. Parallel play. Okay.
Yeah.
Trust, mistrust, so kind of gauging that kind of helps.
You touched on this a little bit, is that here in Hawaii, we have all of these hoops that we have to
Yeah.
jump through to homeschool, which I understand because they're trying to have accountability, which is good.
Yes.
But at the same time, they don't have the infrastructure to truly keep up with it. They don't have enough people within the Department of Education that's going to hold parents accountable, that are going to come out and audit. But we do our due diligence. We do the stuff we're supposed to do. But that can be a deterrent, because when parents realize, oh, every year I have to submit my letter of intent to homeschool, and then I have to keep records, and I have to send like a progress report, and I have to send in grades, and then they have to get tested in like third, fifth, seventh, ninth, all these certain years they have to be tested and send all of that in. And it can be overwhelming, and it can be really intimidating for someone to choose to homeschool when they see all the stuff that they have to do and that they have to be accounted for. How do you handle those things?
That's why I made their Instagram page. So in case anybody questioned what we were doing, I'd be like, oh, here you go. Look at this. But I teach mainly business or entrepreneurship. Like I'll give them each an index card. One of them has a very successful business and one has one that's kind of not doing well. And my one daughter, I'm trying to help her with her emotions, and it kind of ties into our emotional intelligence right after. So I'll say, hey, do the math. This is the product you have. This is how much you pay for the supplies, and this is what you sell it for. And this is how many do you need to sell to make this much? Or what if you sold this many units in 1 year? How much would you make? So she always gets upset. And then I'm like, why are you upset? It's a hypothetical situation. And if you're upset, that's secondary. So you're hurt or sad. And what are you hurt or sad about? Because there's nothing to be hurt or sad about. So we'll kind of learn that way. So we're learning math, critical thinking, business. And I feel like teaching them business would be great because majority of any job they would get would be a business. Mm-hmm. And if you understand how a business works, whether you're the worker or the CEO, then it would be beneficial to you to just understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like what I like more, I'm an advocate for is project-based learning.
Yes.
Because, for me, no one's asked me my question if what I would do if I was going to change the school district. But I would do project-based learning. Like, what are the problems in Hawaii? And just keep it to the state. What are our 10 top problems here in Hawaii? Put it before these young, bright minds and have them solve it. And we may use their solution or not. Mm-hmm. Like, think about that. Think about how better Hawaii would be if we had actually students that are learning, having to do math, science, investigation, research, papers, write thesis, all these things wrapped up in just one project. There's so much. Right. And it's like, let's do that. And if you, like for me, when I was learning how to be an entrepreneur myself, and I realized, okay, people who design websites make more money than people who design websites because development pays way more than graphic designers. Mm-hmm. I'm going to learn how to do what? Web development because I want to get paid more. So the project was learning web development. So I had to learn code and all this stuff. And so I taught myself why? Because it was out of necessity for me to make more money. And so then I taught myself. And this is from a guy who had academic challenges growing up, right? But because I was able to teach myself, as I was older and I understood, it allowed me to now have, change the project. Now it's learning web development. And then it turned from that to now doing all the stuff that I do now. But my point is, if we just do project-based learning, I think we would solve way more problems. The kids would be more educated. And then we can sprinkle in stuff that maybe project-based learning that, that's not necessarily going to like teach them algebra or whatever. But even like I own, a multi-million-dollar company, and starting my second one, we almost did $1 million the first year. I don't do algebra or geometry, like, and I know a lot of people who make a lot of money who don't do that either. Now there's certain jobs that maybe, right? But it's like, what are we doing? Are we really raising these kids to go into the world and be successful, whether working for someone or being an entrepreneur and owning your own business? Mm-hmm. And the answer to that question, I feel like the fruit is no. We could probably have a whole entire podcast on just the education system and all that. But I guess, again, if you're a parent and you're listening to this.
So I wanted to say one more thing about education.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. No. So you made a comment earlier when we first began saying that you felt as though you had let everyone down in your family because you didn't go to college. Mm-hmm.
Which is shocking to me because you're very smart.
You're very
Well, I did
smart.
a little bit of college. Did that make sense? I went to WCC, went to nursing school. I got some credits in the Navy, but school's just not for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that.
Yeah. So I wanted to just touch on that because I feel like from what I have seen in today's world of parents, there's a lot of push of like, you have to go to college. Doesn't matter what it is you want to do, just go to college and you got to figure something out. But that's what you do. You go to high school, you graduate, and we send you off somewhere. We are not believers of that. We feel like
Same.
if there's something that definitely requires college, you want to be a doctor, you want to operate on people, please go to college.
Yes.
Please do. But not everything requires college. So how would you encourage, because we see your success, and that's just a whole nother thing. Like, how do you define success? I mean, success is, to some people, just means like you have a great job and you're making a lot of money, but that doesn't necessarily define success. And I see you as a very successful woman.
Thank you.
You're amazing with your girls. You're an amazing mother and educator and dynamic leader, as I have already said. So how would you speak to parents on the topic of college, of whether or not to send their kids to college, and like, what is that for? If you just speak into that a little bit.
I feel like you covered it though, all of it. There are certain professions that you don't need college for. And I feel like it's a very outdated idea. Like my mom was like, get good grades, go to college, get a good job. Great. Well, prices of homes aren't the same as what it used to be. And I just don't think it's realistic anymore. And there's a lot of trades that are important. And I've felt like I've been an entrepreneur since I was young. But I let everybody else around me kind of hold me back from that, because I was like, I'm going to be a photographer. And they're like, you can't do that. You have to go to school. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to. So that's why I joined the Navy. Well, not the only reason, but I was just like, I just want people to be proud of me, and they're not proud of me when I'm being who I am. So let me kind of mold myself to be who they want me to be. And then that was a whole story in itself. And the past 9 years, I've been on this self-discovery of kind of throwing off those things that they kind of put on me.
Labels they put on you.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, I'm not that. I'm not that. I'm just me. And I gauge success by happiness. And I tell my girls, I'm like, I don't care some things I do care about what you do. But for the most part, I just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like to you. And you can't go wrong. Just even my mom, my sister, love her. She's at Stanford. And some people are like, oh, do you feel bad that she goes to a good school and you didn't? I'm like, no, I never wanted that. I'm happy for her. That's awesome. We're just different beings. And
Right.
I like the creativity of being able to learn in different ways as opposed to how schools or colleges teach.
Right.
But as far as the finances for homeschool, I didn't have money to print out worksheets. I didn't have money to buy books. So I had folder paper and I just wrote out the problems. And I was like, here, okay. And then I did a whiteboard, I remember. So I wrote all the problems. I had one daughter do it. I would erase the answers and I'd have the next daughter do it. And so it's attainable. It's what you make of it. And I just know that I have a goal and like nothing will stop me, even money. Like sometimes I'm broke,
Yeah.
but like we make it work. Like how I drew with the chalk on the ground.
Yeah.
We already had the chalk. So instead of me doing flashcards, because that's boring, we turned it into something fun. And when they were younger, I would yell out math problems and then play kind of dodgeball. And if you didn't answer it right, I'd try to hit you with the ball. But it's PE, hand-eye coordination, math, and then we're all having fun together and memories. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it.
One thing I heard you say, and you coined it very beautifully, was college is just outdated,
Yes.
right? And I feel like, not for everything, like we just talked about, but for most things. And I feel like college, for a lot of families, is this pressure. Harvard, Stanford, wherever people go, these top colleges. And just if anybody would just do any kind of research, how many people are doing what they went to school for?
Yeah.
Right? How many people are in college debt? How many people are broke and they did go to college? How many people heard, hey, just get your 4-year degree and you'll get a good paying job, who don't have a good paying job? And so to your point, it's like, that's outdated. Yes, 10, 15 years ago, you're right. If you didn't have a college education, no company will look at you.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, I'm going to say this, and I may get stones. If you went to college, I probably won't hire you in today's college. Why?
Yep.
Because a lot of people coming out of college are becoming entitled. They want to get paid X amount of dollars. They have all this
Without putting in
preconceived
the work.
values
Yep.
of why they should. Because you're worth that, really? Well, show me how you made this person money, or you were successful in that, right? And so that's why for me, I care more about the experience and the diploma. But I'm in marketing, right? And also in my other companies, trades. And you said it. The trades. Their plumbers are making $200,000, $300,000 a year in trade school. HVAC companies, electricians, right? We do trees. And our guys get paid well. The guys who come to help us, they said we get paid more than we do working for other companies. And they're getting paid decent. So obviously if you have a good owner, have a partner, and we just pay our guys well, right? And so the trades can pay well. You don't have to go to 4 years. That's like an institute, a trade school, and you're done and you get paid a lot. And so I love what you're saying. Outdated, right? It's not for everyone. And then the trades. Like, investigate the trades. You never know. And I love that you made things fun for the kids. Yep. To wrap up education, I really want to talk about health.
Oh, yes.
You're passionate about health.
I am.
What makes you passionate about that?
I don't know where it started, but I saw a video talking about our food and the pesticides, and then the food labels and all the things that they have, like red 40, blue 40, red 5. And I was like, yeah, why do we have this in our food? Why do other countries not have it in theirs? And then I looked at the medical system, and I feel nothing against them. Love them. They do amazing work. But I feel like they just treat the symptoms. And you don't treat the root causes. And how come it's just, here's medicine, but why is it never, what are you putting in your body? Like, what chemicals are you using on your skin? Because your skin is the biggest organ, and your body will absorb that. So even the girls, they get mad at me sometimes. I'm like, that's not natural.
I am not the only one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're like, I'd like to spray, Mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but what chemicals does it have in it?
We can be best friends.
Yes. And they're like, we need deodorant. I'm like, go get me the arrowroot powder. Let me make you another
I will
one.
make you one.
Yeah.
And even bread, they're like, we're out of bread. I'm like, oh, get my sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Let me make a loaf. They're like, this is going to take forever. I'm like, yeah, it's 6 hours.
Yep.
But this one doesn't have dirty wheat in it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I made it.
Yeah.
But no, totally.
So you saw a video or something, you said, that got you spark into like, why
Yes.
are we eating certain foods, and it kind of put you in this rabbit trail of like, wow, like, it's a rabbit hole?
Rabbit.
Rabbit trail.
Rabbit trail.
Yeah, rabbit trail.
Rabbit trail of like, no, it's a rabbit hole because you don't know
go
how
down
deep the hole is.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Isn't
a
it?
rabbit trail.
Okay, whatever.
I think it's a rabbit trail. I don't think it's a rabbit hole.
Ask Siri. Siri, is it rabbit trail? It's a rabbit hole, babe. Look it up.
Are we seriously going to have this argument on the podcast right
Yeah,
now?
it's a rabbit hole because you don't know how far that hole is. I think that's the.
Is it considered a rabbit hole or a rabbit trail? Both.
Okay, both.
Rabbit hole.
There we
rabbit
go.
trail are figures
Maybe
of
the
speech.
rabbit trail is like you're
Wait,
bouncing from thing to
but
thing.
They have different meanings. The rabbit trail suggests a digression or going on a tangent, while a rabbit hole implies a complex, often confusing,
There we go.
potentially distracting exploration. But
Rabbit
we're both right.
hole.
Both right.
It's a rabbit hole of like all the. We're both right, honey.
I'm right.
You're right. We're both right. That's the first ever.
I love that.
But the rabbit hole of health, right? We're kind of same thing. We kind of investigated it. Like with someone told us something about the connection between gluten and people with autism, and we were like, whoa, and then it just exploded, right? And I feel like what do we say to people that, well, you're not a doctor, you're not a whatever health professional, like, it's like, what's this with people thinking that we can read
Yeah.
information?
Yep.
We have logical and
And
logical abilities to reason and take information, regurgitate it, and comprehend to then apply it to ourselves. Like, why do people think we have to be these experts when we just read experts' writings on things, and then, oh, the experts are saying this, so let me follow it, and then we regurgitate it. Oh, you're not an expert. I'm doing what an expert said. Like, how do you deal with that on social media or anywhere that you hear?
I did get that as a comment once, but I was just like, I can read and I can critically think.
Yeah.
I think that's all you really need to get to a conclusion. So that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that, I feel like that's all you need. I don't need a degree. I mean, it's cool, I guess, but that doesn't make me any less intelligent to find an answer.
Yeah.
I can think for myself and kind of narrow it down. And if I have questions, I'll reach out, I'll ask, I'll look it up, I'll see an opposing view, and just go off of that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's this, we were trained to think that way? Like, just trust the experts, just trust the experts. And so,
Yeah.
because like, and sometimes experts are wrong, right? And
Yes.
so it's like, but I feel like we were raised to just trust a doctor, trust whoever's in charge, that they know what they're doing it for a reason. And I think we need to get out of that kind of just blind trust. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I question everything, but
No, me too.
Yeah.
and so what are some things, and I want to talk about you call it emotional intelligence. What is what would you like Hawaii to do when it comes to like the foods that we bring in, and like legislation on that?
Mainly be involved. And that's kind of why I started making the content that I did, because I was talking to my cousin and I was like, you know about this bill? She's like, no, I don't have time for that. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have time for that? It affects you and your children. And she's like, I'm busy, I'm working. I have no idea where to look. I don't even have the time to read it. I have so many other things going on in my life. So that's kind of what inspired me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I got time. I don't have that much time, but what time I do
Says
have.
the single mom who's homeschooling her 2 kids. Yes, you
Yes.
have all the time.
I was like, I'll do it. I'll put it out there. And I was kind of terrified to put it out there. And I was like, what are you doing? Don't stir the pot. People are going to hate you. Oh, no. And then I was like, F it. Post. So I forgot the first question.
No, that's me half the time. Like, it's gonna piss off a lot of people.
Yeah. Great. Do it.
Right. But the truth, like, no one wants to eat carrots and vegetables, right? They rather eat ice cream and sugary stuff. I mean, I know it's no pun intended, but they rather have the stuff that's nice. But when you tell them the truth, that hurts, or like they're contemplating, like, man, like, I don't want to change my life, because if I know that truth, then I have to change my life. If I was like you said, critical thinker and really want to change. And
sorry. I think a lot of the food is comfort food for us. Like our tutu made it, our mom, our dad. So we're so used to it. But I didn't know about leeks until I was an adult. And I was like, man, what other vegetables are out there that I am unaware of? Because no offense to my family for cooking, love all your meals, but I just know like hamburger curry, chili, spam, eggs, and rice. So I kind of had to unlearn everything that I was taught and then teach myself about different cooking meals, techniques, proteins, carbs, fats, what's a healthy fat. And then I also kind of tied it into the menstrual cycle for my daughters, because we go off of spring, summer, fall, winter. And like when we're on our cycle, we have a lot of soups because our body's colder, our metabolism's lower. So if we're having soups, our body doesn't really have to work as hard to digest that. So I like to have some dried soups, for us at that time. Or when our body is hotter, closer to ovulation, a lot of cooling food. So we'll do watermelons, cucumbers, smoothies, fun stuff. So, and I'll be like, hey, look up a recipe that you want to try. Let's try it. But just make sure the ingredients are affordable and like not a lot of ingredients, like maybe 5. No, but just adjusting that. But I think people really got to get involved. I know they're going to say, I don't have time. And I hope to make that easier for them. But a lot of these bills will go past us and our lives will kind of change without us knowing. So it's very important. But also, you can educate yourselves. Like there's YouTube, there's Google. You can learn about other foods or healthy ways. And like, I am fit by no means, but I think just being aware of my food choices, being aware of, oh, I'm not feeling good today. Like I had a altercation with someone and I'm leaning more towards sweets. Am I emotionally eating? Let me take a step back. Let me ground my energy. Let me meditate. Let me pray and then go about my day.
I love that. You like went to a whole nother level
Sorry.
with that. I love that. Like,
Thank
like
you.
even like how women obviously change more than men every year. I mean, every month. Like you said, I didn't even know that. That was like, wow, that's
I didn't know.
Educator right here.
Yes.
yeah,
amazing.
That's what's wrong with my family. Okay, you guys,
What's wrong?
y'all these six girls, and oh my gosh, can you imagine like when they're all
Soups.
in their stuff? Right now, it's just 4 teenagers, but yeah, isn't that cool?
That is
Like,
amazing.
like yeah, but to your point, it's like we wonder why we have emotional discourse, right? And we fighting all the time, or and it's a lot to do with our food, even for men and female, right? Male and female, and you'd be surprised of what food can do to actually help or hurt,
Right.
right? And we found that out with our kids' behaviors early on with the heavy sugar. We cut off. We used to have orange juice, apple juice. We used to have all the snacks and all that stuff, thinking that this is all healthy. And then we open our eyes, right? We started watching a bunch of Netflix documentary, and sure, a lot of those documentaries have like agendas and propaganda, but some of it was true.
The big change actually was with one of my oldest daughters when she was really little. She was vastly different from her older sister, from number one child. And I just thought his personality. But as she kept getting a little bit older, to where she was like 2 and 3, there were things that were just like so very different. Like she didn't like people looking at her. And even when we sang her happy birthday at one of her birthday parties, it's like we're just singing happy birthday and she's seeing everyone looking at
Quiet,
her.
like,
And no, we were singing happy birthday and she just starts crying. And it wasn't until like throughout the course of that year, we realized, oh, she doesn't like everyone looking at her. And I just thought, oh, she's just a shy child. She doesn't like attention. So the following birthday, we whispered happy birthday. And she didn't cry, but she was like, but then we're like, okay, it's not that she's a shy child. She didn't really like to make eye contact. If I was holding her, people would talk to her. She would bury herself like in my chest. Public restrooms were a nightmare for her because all the flushing, it was so loud, and she would cover her ears in the bathrooms. She could walk into a place and smell something that nobody else could smell. And she was bothered, like so bothered. She wanted to just get out of the room. I remember we bought brand new bunk beds for them. And her bunk was on the bottom, and she cried for like the first week every night because she was like, it smells so bad. And she was talking about the wooden slats above her, and we didn't smell anything. Her sensories were just on overload until we had a friend of ours recognizing that there was autistic tendencies within her. She was like, this is autism here. And we're like, whoa. She was a tippy toe walker, never put her heels down. It was just like now learning and understanding so much about autism. I'm like, that was all the signs of autism. And so we went through this detox of cutting out gluten, cutting out dairy.
Because she said you cut off gluten, cut off no, she said cut off gluten, and her behavior will change.
Yeah.
And literally night and day, we cut off gluten.
It took about 3 months.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But night and day difference.
Right. But night and day difference. Like, and this was going on even through her beginning years of homeschooling, where you're just doing the simple, like just learning to write the letters. And the first thing you do is we're going to write your name. This is your name. And it was that's when I knew there's something really wrong here, because my oldest, not that you compare one child to the other, but my oldest, in learning how to write her name, like, she struggled, but she eventually got it. Whereas this one, she had such a hard time, and it was like, it was pulling teeth just to get her. It would take her like 2-3 minutes just to form a letter. Like, she was just really trying to focus, and we're like, something's wrong here. So it was during that time that we had this friend of ours tell us, like, yeah, this is autism, cut out the gluten and you're going to start seeing a difference. So we cut out gluten. I mean, I think at the time, even we cut out dairy, and it took about 3 months. But at the end of the 3 months, we had a different child. She was smiling at people. She was talking. Who knew? She was a social butterfly.
Yeah.
She did not look like a social butterfly. We thought she's just the most introvert, shyest child. No way. And she's been off of gluten ever since. And here and there, I can tell just from behavior, what did you eat?
Yes.
I know you ate something you weren't supposed to, because it'll show up within like 72 hours. And so I have to backtrack. What happened? What did you put in your body? Because the whole house feels it.
Yeah.
That's so, true.
And so that sparked us from literally getting rid of juices, only doing water every meal. Because again, growing up, the food triangle, right? You know, you eat the food triangle, but yet when we did a research, that's like the drug family or the drug companies like, this is the way so that we can supplement them with all our drugs and right. And so we start doing juices, we started doing waters, eating healthier. And to your point, it is expensive, because when you want to eat healthy, unfortunately, it is more expensive, and unless you do it yourself, right?
Grow a garden, make it part of school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going back to homeschool.
Yeah. And so I love that you're taking charge of your girls', health, right, and yourself and all that, and that you're tying it with emotional behavior, because it happens. It so happens. What are some of the cool things that you see through your kids when, let's say, like, oh, I can tell something was going on because you ate or something or whatever?
It's mainly with me, because I've been diagnosed ADHD, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole trail about like how sugar affects us. And then I learned about how sugar significantly affects the brain. So I'm just like, man, I constantly forget things. I have to go in and out of the house 5 times before we leave. So, and I'm almost late. I don't know why. Even if I leave early, sometimes I'm late. I'll have a pile of clothes on the couch. I'll know I need to fold it. I know how to fold it. I don't do it sometimes. In conversation, sometimes I'll cut people off because I'm so passionate and excited. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, sorry. You go first. So, but I notice, sometimes I don't notice, but for the most part, I notice, and I'm like, what did I eat? And she's like, you got candy yesterday. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you stop me, man? She's like, because I wanted candy too. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
I try to have sweet treats, but I do, and we do indulge. Like, we'll go to Taco Bell sometimes. I'll get them candy. But I like to just be aware of, hey, we're making this choice, and there could be adverse effects in our body or consequences. So do we still want to? And they're like, yes, we want Taco Bell. I'm like,
Of course.
okay.
Of course. Yeah.
Then
we
they
can
allow
have it.
Grace was like, okay, you're a little crispy, you know.
Yeah.
You're hyper, man. Calm down, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, with me, mainly sugar. But like you said, organic is so expensive. And it's like, I know what I need to eat, but I also have like responsibilities. I have bills to pay, so I can't always afford the organic. But we just do what we can when we can. And it's been good.
Yeah.
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 But what do you think what's the hindrance on really educating people on healthy options and being able to actually implement that? Like, what would it take to shift
The people.
the people here on healthy eating?
The willingness to learn. And we learn that in nursing school. Like, if the patient isn't willing to learn what we're going to teach them about their health or recovery, then everything we say is going to go in one ear and out the other. So I think that would be the first step. But also, I think leading by example. So if a few of us change, we're at a party and we make different health decisions, or we bring a different platter, like, oh, this is vegan or vegetarian, or this has no gluten, and people try it, then they may be like, oh, wow, healthy food, it tastes great. And that's kind of what happened to me. I was in Philadelphia at Reading Market, and there was a girl who had a vegan spot, and she said she had like a chicken salad. And I tried it and I was like, there's chicken in here. She's like, it's chickpeas. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I've had chicken before. This is chicken. She's like, no, there's no chicken. I was like, are you sure? And that's kind of a little spark that was like, oh, healthy food tastes great. And then I went to Yoga Under the Palms, and their sandwich that they have, I was like, whoa, what is in this? Like, this sauce that you used is amazing. And I didn't think to put all these ingredients in a sandwich, because I just know ham, turkey, cheese, mayonnaise, maybe tomato, lettuce. That's sandwich. But now we add sprouts. There's so many different things, and I just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
When I grew up, it was fine to eat wet bread,
Yes.
right? But because of the GMO wheat that, they're just farmers or people are just trying to make more money, get it to grow certain ways, pesticides, all this stuff, and save money, we now have what they call dirty wheat. And right now, most of the European countries have the original wheat seed, but even now they're starting to start having dirty wheat because of the money.
Well, and what makes it healthier in Europe is that the amount of proteins that are in the wheat is far less than the amount of proteins that are here. And our bodies just cannot digest those proteins that are in the wheat that's grown in America. And so if you are in Europe and you're consuming regular wheat, the gluten proteins are far less and easily digestible in your body versus what's in our wheat now.
Right. So I was gonna get to that. Thank you. So you probably said it better than me anyway. Is that it's the proteins that we can't break up, and that way now, like I could eat bread growing up. Now I eat bread. I started having eczema. I have this spot on my stomach that I literally itch immediately when I eat bread from here, America bread. Sourdough, it doesn't happen.
Let's see.
I don't scratch, right? And I bloat. I bloat when I eat wheat. And so that's why for us now we understand, it's the gluten proteins that we can't break up. It's not that my auntie, uncle, they ate bread, they were fine. It's different now. And so it's to educate yourself, like, hey, the foods that we eat now are not the same food that we ate. And what's funny is that when the actual company at the grocery store is saying organic, and the other one, so what's that one? Crap? And we'll sell you the crappy version, and here's the best version, right? It's like they just freaking sell the organic. Why are you selling the crap one, right? And so that's fascinating to me.
And to your point, I saw this the other day, and I meant to send it to you, and I forgot to send it to you. But it's this picture of McDonald's fries, and it's two.
I don't want to get sued by McDonald's. Okay, full disclosure, your opinion, all right?
This is my opinion, sure. But it's So it's two pictures of McDonald's fries, but the title at the top says, "Oh, it's fine. I ate that when I was a kid." And then it says, "No, you didn't, because when you were a kid, the first set of fries says this is what was in it. It was potatoes, beef tallow, and salt."
Beef tallow.
And what we have today are potatoes, vegetable oil, canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, hydrogenated soybean oil, natural beef flavor, wheat and milk derivatives, dextrose, sodium acid, pyrophosphate. If you can't pronounce the word, you shouldn't be eating it. Salt, natural beef flavor contains hydrogenized wheat and hydrogenized milk as starting ingredients. And I don't even know what's after that, because that's how you start. So it just goes to show that what foods were available back then are not the same. They're not made the same because they're cutting costs. And they're probably, my opinion, because I'm not an expert, but they're probably in relationship with the pharmaceutical companies to keep the people sick.
Just name dropping brands, like Kraft Singles. The reason why it says singles is because it doesn't have the correct percentage amount of real cheese to be classified as cheese. So that's why they can't call it cheese. When I learned that, I was like, oh my goodness. And then even when things, I think it's fat free, like they take the fat out, but then they just put sugar. That's didn't really do anything there. Even the little packets of like fruit snacks, when you look at how much sugar is in that, so I'll have the girls measure it out like, hey, weigh 17 grams, please. That's what you're eating.
Yeah.
Right.
Of sugar and all that sugar. So I told them to kind of keep a journal of everything you want to snack on, write it down. And then we'll add up how much sugar is in it after the week. And then you could see how much sugar you would have put in your body if I didn't truly care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
Or just uneducated on the matter. But like, you're welcome. I saved you from all that sugar.
Exactly. I know so many times I go to the store and I'm like, I look at every ingredient and my kids sometimes are like, no, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Just put it in the cart. And I'm like, no. And I go, I can't. And I'm like, I can't give you that. I'm like, that's like giving you poison.
Yeah.
And they're like, but if we just have it one time, I'm like, so it's okay. Would I be a good mom if I just give you drugs? It's just one time.
Yeah.
It's just one time. Here.
Just one time, Mom.
You can have drugs once a year.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like,
So
no, we care
true.
about you, you know? And I'm not knocking on parents that are giving their kids all this other stuff, but because I truly feel like it is just ignorance. It's just a lack of education, of understanding what's in the foods, because so many times we're just buying stuff just out of habit because maybe the commercial looked like it was healthy or whatever. Yeah, my auntie eats this or whatever. I remember Daniel said like his grandfather passed away earlier this year, almost 98 years old. But he's like, he drank Coke every single day. And he lived to be 98. He was like, if I want to drink a Coke, I'm going to drink a Coke. I'm like, it's probably not made the same.
Yeah.
It's not made the same.
So
It's
true.
not made the same. And so the conspiracy here, and look it up, whatever. The FDA, if the FDA approves it, it usually means, well, the FDA would not approve it if you could not eat. Well, if you actually research the FDA, the same people that are behind the CEOs and the big dogs, the top upstairs, are the same people that were behind tobacco. But because tobacco got slapped and say, we're going to get away from tobacco because it's actually cancer and all this stuff. And so now tobacco literally got hit by all these labels. They can't do commercials. That, they're like all the big wigs. Oh, we can't make no more money off of nicotine and people being literally addicted to our cigarettes. So research it your own. Do your own research. But they find out the people who are now behind the FDA, and it's the same people that they say, let's get into foods. And what can we put in the foods that make it addicting? SMG.
Yeah.
So now
What did you say?
it's SMG, right?
MSG.
MSG.
I knew what you meant.
Cut that.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I
What is
got
it,
that
MSG?
too.
MSG.
MSG, look it up. It's in everything. It's an addictive ingredient that they put into chips. They put into everything. And sugar, they know sugar is they put sugar in. Why do you put sugar in ketchup?
Yeah.
We know it by MSG, but then they'll put it in the label like monosodium. Is it glutamate? Or yeah, monosodium.
Whatever it is, yeah.
And then most people are like, I don't know what that is, but it's MSG.
Yeah, and so again, it's conspiracy, whatever. But if you do the research and you critical think,
Yeah.
you do critical thinking, you start to say, wait, these guys were in charge here. Now they're here. Now they're making tons of money, approving all these foods, making money out of these foods, and they're also behind the pharmaceutical companies who are making a gazillion dollars, right? And it's like, unplug. What information do you need to see to unplug? It's like, and it hurts my heart, and forgive me, I don't body shame anybody, but when I see young people, young kids, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds that are just obese and too many musubis. I'm sorry, too much plate lunch, too much Kanaka attacks, too much, right? And it's like, and I'm not trying to body shame. That's just not healthy. And if your child, it just runs in the family. No, like it doesn't. It's the food that we're eating. Like we're Puerto Rican. We love rice and pork. Go to Puerto Rico, we fry everything. Give me a banana, give me a pork, give me fish, anything, we fry it. All right, it's the same in Puerto Rico with obesity and just the foods that we eat. And now us as now older people, I have to really take charge of my health and say no because it's challenging for me. Because my parents did their best, but again, the foods that we ate growing up, it's different than now. And so now I have to unlearn all this stuff because it's not healthy anymore. And so my point is, man, take charge of your life, take charge of your health. I love that you're an advocate for that because we have to stop eating these foods because our kids are going to continue to be on these medications, all these things. If we're not paying for it now, you'll be paying for it in the future because of medical bills, because they have all these issues because you didn't say no to the juices, the crappy fruits that you think you're eating, the fruit snacks, the rice. I don't know if you know who Daniel Anthony is.
Oh yeah.
Daniel Anthony gave us a great lesson about poi and kalo and rice and the right kind of rice. And the reason why we have crap rice is not bad inherently, but it's the rice that we do have and subsidized here it's just, he gave us, watch that podcast. It's amazing. But it's like, start educating yourself of the foods you eat and you'd be surprised, like the happiness you're talking about and the joy that you have in life and the peace just from food alone could get you halfway there or more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to say too that, we see this huge difference between the foods in America versus the foods in other countries, particularly Europe is where I'm talking about just because we've experienced it firsthand. But you get a Sprite here and it's 35 grams of sugar in a Sprite, in a can of Sprite. You're in Italy or in Greece or something and you ask for a Sprite, same size can, 11 grams of sugar, which 11 grams is still quite a bit.
Yeah.
But 11 grams versus 35 grams, that's huge.
Babe, that's one can. When you eat at a restaurant, what happens?
Oh, yeah.
You drink your
would you like
one
to read that
can,
here?
then you go back to get another can, and you go back. You're hitting 3 or 4 cups of Sprite. So you're really eating more, probably over 100 grams of sugar.
And of sugar in just your drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's insane.
we could talk about this topic
No, yes.
forever, right?
Yeah.
But this
So I love that. Just the encouragement to the people of Hawaii just to be educated, to get over the mental hurdle of what that might take to shift and change. And I think it's also overwhelming when you're like, oh my gosh, I got to give up all these foods. No. Like you can just go slow. You can take one thing out of your diet.
Yeah, we had to go slow.
We definitely had to go slow. It was gluten. Gluten for us we had to get rid of that. And then once we got rid of that, it's like, okay, now what? Now we've been doing that sustainably and consistently for a number of years. What's next? We got to up our game here. And then it's just taking it little by little, so it's not overwhelming.
Well,
Yeah.
And it's not shaming, it's not condemning, it's more of an invitation.
Yes.
Inviting you to look into this for yourself, for your family, for your health, for longevity. In fact, if you cut off the juices and the fruit snacks, you'll be surprised. Just replace it with water. You'd be
Yes.
surprised how much money you save so that you can go buy the healthier stuff, right?
Right.
Yes.
And so, but this podcast is a good one.
Yes.
It's going really long, and I think
is.
we need to close it. I'd love to hear more about the emotional intelligence, is what you call
Yes.
it. If you could just, before we close, speak a little bit more about what that is, and then we'll land the ship.
So for us, sorry, it's mainly just understanding our own actions, our own emotions, and being aware of that and kind of processing it, quickly or slowly if we have time. Like a big one that I teach my daughters is to love themselves. And my daughter's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, man, but I just know you got to do it. And she's like, well, where do I start? I was like, start by doing things, trying everything. What I did this, hey, I don't like it. Okay, move on to the next thing. I did this, oh, I really like that. Okay, let's kind of go down this path. I want to try something new. Like explore, like be curious and try different things. And I have to constantly like help them unpack their emotions. Like my one daughter who gets angry, I'm like, okay, what are you really angry about? And then when they fight, I'm just like, what are you fighting about? You guys could get so much more done if you worked together, but what are you angry about? I don't know. And even for myself, like my own emotions, if I see a comment that isn't necessarily nice, it doesn't really bother me because nobody's paying my bills or feeding me. So I don't really care. But I do my best to kind of not fall into that trap of like, what did you say?
Yeah.
But I try to use that as a teaching point. Like, oh, I see you're upset. Like, why are you upset? And I just don't want my daughters to turn to unhealthy means because I did. I turned to those unhealthy things and then it just took more work for me to undo it. So I feel like if they truly know who they are, Rich, I don't even know the answer for that, but I guess we're publicly figuring it out.
Yeah.
But if they can, know who they truly are, the way we treat ourselves is how we tell other people how we should be treated. So if I'm not treating my own self with respect, how can I expect somebody else to respect me? So yeah,
That's awesome. I love that.
thank you.
I feel like, we make too many decisions sometimes out of emotions.
Yes.
And it's not like when we're emotional creatures, right? And so, of course, we're going to have emotions. But I feel like sometimes we have to like compose ourselves, have the emotion. We tell our kids all the time, it's okay to be mad.
Yeah.
It's okay to be sad. What's not okay is when you act out
Yes.
in that emotion and it hurts so.
And you hurt other people.
Like if you need a moment to go yell on your pillow upstairs, then go do it. But don't yell at me. Don't yell at your kids because that's going to have consequences.
Yep.
Right. And so I love that. It's like take control of your emotion, find a way, whatever triggers you, find a way. Okay, what is my coping mechanism that I go to so that I don't act out? Same thing. I'm on social media now just the comments people make. I mean, you can't, it's like people hate your guts. It's like, you don't even know me. Would you say that in my face?
Yeah.
Like I will literally scrap with you and jack you up if you said that to my face. Right. And
Yeah.
it's like these keyboard warriors. It's like, come on, guys. But it doesn't bother me because I'm an artist all my life. And
Yeah.
I like critique. Being an entrepreneur, you want critique, even from your haters. Like,
Yeah.
what are my haters saying? I don't care. And so, but learning how the emotion, like you said, I love that. They're not paying my bills. They're not, they don't know me. They're not in my inner circle.
Yeah.
Now, if my wife calls me out and says those things that, oh dang, that hurt. Like, am I that much of a jerk? Like, what am I doing, right? But these people that know me are saying whatever they want. I remember someone calling me a colonist. I'm like, a colonist? What? Do you know the people I know? Do you know what we're doing behind the scenes to help? It's just, they just don't know. They don't know, right? And so, all that to say, I love that you're teaching that with
you.
your kids.
But I love what you guys do. I tell them to feel it, like feel that emotion. We're all here to experience things. What does it feel like? What do you not like about it? What do you like about it? What do you wish someone told you as something uplifting? And then release it. Do you are you holding on to things? Do we need to go to the beach? Do you want to swim and kind of let it go? Do you need a moment alone outside? Look at the stars, look at the moon, put your feet on the ground. And then having them communicate that with me, like, hey, mom, I need time alone. Okay, great. How much time and where are you going? Are you safe? That's it.
I love that. And so many parents don't do that. They just, because it could take work.
It does. It's a lot of work. Send help.
Yeah, it takes work. Yeah. But man, good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah. What I'm hearing also with this emotional intelligence is basically you want them to live a better life and to make better choices than you ever did. You want your ceiling to be their floor. You want
Yes.
them to go higher and farther and do better than you did. And I think that that's just that is the epitome of a really great mom who's going to lay her life down so that her kids can go further. A mom who's going to let her own desires die down so that her daughter's desires can live, and teaching them to go further and go higher and do better. And I love that. And
Thank
you're doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing a really great job. And I don't know if you get enough of that. I don't know if you're in community that is encouraging you and supporting you and uplifting you. But I just want to say, well done, because you are not making excuses. And you are just, it's like, I don't know, I just get like a picture of like this monster wave, and you're like, I'll surf it.
Yeah.
I'll try. I'll go
I
out
feel
there,
that.
you know, and you're not doing it out of like, oh, I know I'm big and bad and I can do it. You're doing it out of like, I'll try.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. If I don't try, I won't know, you
Yes.
know? And so well done. Well
you.
done. Your girls are so blessed to have you
Amen.
as their mom. And I love all the content that you have on your social
Thank
media.
you so much.
I love the education that you provide. It's amazing. And keep going.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I hear it. I don't know how to accept it sometimes because I like to give compliments, but when people tell me, I'm like, oh, that's scary. You're complimenting me. But it's very hard doing it alone.
Yeah.
I don't have that person to be like, hey, this is how our day went. You know, like, could you talk to her? Could you
Yeah.
do this? I have to do everything. And I think some people see my life and they're just like, why don't you do this? And I'm like, if I told you everything that I do, I don't think you could handle one day.
Yeah.
And even at night, like even my spare time, I'm on YouTube learning a new skill, like AI automation.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, crypto, something, Web3. What can I learn that can put me ahead of the game or put my daughters ahead of the game so that I don't have to be on this hamster wheel?
Yeah.
But how can I also juggle everything at the same time,
Yeah.
which is very hard.
Wow. Well,
A lot of
incredible
prayer.
job. They should, whoever's watching this, you're a single mom, should get a lot of inspiration from you
Thank
Yeah.
because
you.
you're doing a great job. And I would love to meet with you outside of this
I would love
and
that.
just hear what you're doing, because what I love to do is help other entrepreneurs,
I love that.
you know,
Oh,
because I was there, you know, wearing all the hats.
yes.
You know, and you know, I was the bookkeeper, the copywriter, the designer, the developer, right, and it's chaos, right? And so for me, I love helping people and just sharing with them my failures and my successes, learning from my failures so you don't have to pay for that tuition again.
Yep.
And then, like Lucy said, that my ceiling is someone else's floor, because that's what we both aspire to do with everybody we have friends with, is just helping them, you know, because we've been blessed. So let's bless others. So thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
coming
Oh, this is awesome.
and saying yes. You don't know us from Adam. You
Yeah.
know, it's like first time, but love the talk conversations, and hopefully we can become friends.
Oh yeah, no, we're friends already.
I thought we were already friends.
The girls are
That's
out there
established.
just having fun. I see them in the circle when I was in the other plane, so I love it. So,
Yeah, I hear them. They're chattering and laughing and
I know. I was
giggling
like,
down there.
best behavior, be good.
yeah. Well, Anela, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So
This
we'll
is awesome.
hopefully do this again, maybe.
Yes, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I'll be less nervous.
No, you did
You can
good.
teach us all about like female cycle and what to eat and all
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I could.
We should have all our girls here talking
Yes.
about it, not me.
Yeah, he's like, and I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah. No, even the moon. Sorry. I know we're pal, but if I'm bleeding with the full moon, I should typically ovulate with the new moon. So I kind of teach them that because the moon's on a 28-ish cycle, and typically so are we.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of going into the Hawaiian moon phases. So
Yeah.
everything's kind of tied together.
That's
Yeah, when
amazing.
the tide, you know, is pulled by the moon or so. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there's some cool stuff in there.
No,
for
yeah.
sure.
I love it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. We kind of covered a lot, and I think I got educated today. It was awesome. Hopefully you got educated. Hopefully you got inspired. What I really care about is that you stay-at-home mom, or you working mom, or you whatever you're doing, or dad, right? Oh, dad. Be inspired. Like, if homeschool is for you, then awesome. If it's not, public school. But I think the high level important thing is to just be present with your kids, know what they're getting, what education they're getting, and also be involved in what that is. And you know, by the time 15, 16, make sure they're going in the trajectory that they need to be going, because when they graduate, you know, they need a good job. And if they're passionate about what they're doing, then they're going to really do what they need to do to try to be the best at that. So thank you again for watching this. Please share this podcast. This is just a small podcast, humble beginnings. But man, someone's going to be blessed by this podcast. And so until next time, see you later. Aloha.